Hey everybody, it's Dave here from Dragonhill Games, and you're watching This Week in MTG Finance. As always, before we get started, I want to thank MTG Stocks for allowing us to use graphical information for the purposes of this video. Alright, we're going to jump right into it this week. So, the last few weeks we've been talking a lot about Pioneer, and rightfully so. That format is having a huge impact on the Magic the Gathering marketplace. A lot of the cards from Pioneer are spiking just because maybe they weren't that great in Modern, but they're super good in Pioneer. And then, of course, some of the staples like this guy right here, Thoughtseize, have seen dramatic increases over the course of the last couple of weeks due to new demand for Pioneer decks. But I want to take more of a focus this week on cards that are kind of growing organically and step a little bit away from Pioneer this week, as well as I want to talk to you guys about some moves you may want to consider making, in the next few weeks, a month or so before the new year hits, because there's going to be a lot of changes in the new year. Wizards is kind of changing things up a little bit. There's going to be a huge focus next year on Commander. So we're going to see a lot of reprints for cards that are really popular in Commander. I mean, we're getting 7 new Commander decks along with, sort of a Commander spellbook type of thing. They've already said that was going to be green. But in general, there's going to be a huge focus on Commander in 2020. So yeah, let's talk about some cards that will be affected by that, and some cards I think that are likely to see reprints, and you may want to consider, selling extra copies and stuff that you have now, as well as just a general focus on cards that are really good this week and seeing sort of overall organic demand. And we'll start right here with Thoughtseize. So Thoughtseize is seeing fresh all-time highs this week. And to be honest with you, I'm a little bit surprised that it took this long to get here. I mean, obviously Pioneer has given it a kick in the pants in the last few weeks, a month or so, and rightfully so. I mean, it's going to be the best one mana discard, in black in Pioneer for sure. It's actually probably the best one mana discard in black in any format. I mean, it's played in Legacy, right? So when a card's played in Legacy, that generally means that this is the best version of that card, type available. So, like I was saying, I'm kind of surprised that it's taken this long to sort of hit these numbers, because this card just sees a wide range of play. And like I said, obviously it's it's one thing that Pioneer has injected a whole new bunch of demand for this card. But I would like to say that if you have more than your playset, I mean, now is a great time to consider actually unloading these cards. And you may be surprised that I'm saying that, but we're 2 years out from the last reprint on this card, right? So we had it in Iconic Masters, which was around the time of Ixalan. So we're getting to the point where we're about, 2 years away from the last reprinting of this card. And with a demand like this across multiple formats, especially with such a high demand, and I mean, Wizards obviously knows that this card would be in huge demand in Pioneer, right? So, I mean, with such a demand in so many formats and them wanting to get Pioneer off the ground, I would be shocked if we don't see a reprint of Thoughtseize soon. Like I said, the last one we had was around 2 years ago. For a card that's this high in demand, Wizards generally doesn't like to let cards go more than a couple of years without a reprint. It just starts making the value of the cards, unreachable for the average player. And so I think that there is an extreme possibility that this card would get a reprint soon, if not, next year, for sure. So, like I was saying, that's just speculation on my part. No one ever knows for sure when these things are going to happen. But if you look at this card from an investment standpoint, I mean, as an investor, I've talked about this before, and it's just sort of basic investment policies in anything in life. You want to buy low, obviously as low as you can, and no one really ever knows where the low point is, but you want to buy as low as you can and sell as high as you can. And again, no one ever knows where the high point is. I mean, if we don't see a reprint of this card in the next 6 months, this card might be $60. But regardless of that fact, as an investor, when you see a graph like this and you own, stock in this card, this is an indicator that you need to sell. Spikes like this tell us that, hey, you know what? It's time to take some profit on a card like this. So again, as I was saying, if you own more than your playset, more than you think you're going to need, I believe now is a good time to actually consider unloading Thoughtseeds. All right, the next one I have for you guys this week is Vivid Marsh. Now this card, original printing in Lorwyn has mostly it's had a lot of reprints actually, but mostly been in various commander sets. And that's really the only place that any of the Vivid lands are played, really, is in Commander. For the life of me, I really can't understand sort of what's going on with this card. I saw it last week, but it was only this original Commander printing that had kind of spiked. It spiked last week, but the rest of the sets, it had printed in were still 50 cents in that range. And that happens from time to time. There's just weird sort of mispricing issues, and a random card from one particular printing for no good reason will just spike, and then, over the course of a week or so, it'll kind of go back down to where it was. But the opposite sort of happened this week, and I really thought that was the case with this one. But the opposite actually sort of happened with this one. All of the other Commander printings, the only one that's sort of lagging behind is Lorwyn, and I feel like that will probably catch up very shortly. But all of the other printings have gone from around the 50 cent range to the 2 to 250 cent range. And this is, it has, the only explanation is pure sort of Commander demand, right? So, because that's the only place, like I said, these Vivid lands are played. And none of the other Vivid lands have seen a jump like this, and I really honestly don't expect them to. I think this is some sort of weird anomaly, but it is showing a massive price increase in virtually every printing. Like I said, the only one kind of lagging behind is Lorwyn, but I'm sure that's going to catch up. So you probably have a bunch of these kind of kicking around in, sort of random uncommon box or whatever. Time to dig them out and sell these while you can for this price, because I really don't think that this price is going to hold for an extended period of time. All right, and the next couple I have for you guys this week that you may want to consider unloading are a couple of reprints that we're going to be seeing in the mystery boosters early next year. So remember, guys, that's coming out in March next year. This will be available, the mystery boosters, in your local game store. I've already put in my pre-order for that time frame, and I ordered quite a bit, and we're going to be drafting it a lot in my store. Now, it's a very large set, so it's very difficult to know how much of each card is going to be injected sort of into the marketplace, because the set's so massive. I mean, there's going to be 1,800 plus cards in this set, so how many Manamorphoses are going to get opened? I don't know the answer to that question. It's all going to depend on how much, the set's open, drafted, used, this kind of stuff at LGSs and stuff, right? But regardless, there is going to definitely be a whole fresh new supply, and things like Manamorphose and the next couple that I'll show you are in the common slot, right, in those packs. So there's going to be fairly large new injection of these into the market, and that's being demonstrated here. And I want to show you guys something really interesting. There's always been sort of a lot of talk about insider trading, and I'm not I'm not going to go down that road, but I do want to point out something that's very interesting. So let's look at when Manamorphose. Now, Manamorphose has taken a literal nosedive. It's like this thing's fallen right off of a cliff. And that happened back in mid to late August, early September. It just really started going down. So it's almost like a whole bunch got injected into the marketplace, like somebody unloaded sort of their position in Manamorphose after it spent most of the year in the $20 range, right? So we're half of that now at $10. And this is getting a reprint, like I said, in the common slot in the mystery booster packs next year. So that's definitely something, if you're holding these, strongly consider selling whatever copies you have that you're not immediately using, because mid next year you're probably going to be able to pick this card up for a couple of bucks. It all sort of depends, again, like I said, on how much gets opened in the mystery booster. But I mean, that's why sort of this is going off a cliff here, because it is going to be a common reprint. But yeah, so let's look at that date, right? Late August, early September, and let's have a look at another one that was holding a lot of value right up until that time frame. So Ristic Study, I mean, this is a huge commander staple. It's actually kind of a running joke in my store, did you pay for Ristic Study? Because if you're playing blue in your commander deck, like there's no reason why you shouldn't play this card. I mean, it's just really good value in something like commander, right? So again, getting another reprint in the common slot in mystery booster packs. So this card here, is gonna take a nosedive. So honestly, again, if you have more than you sort of need in your commander deck that you're sort of playing all the time, get rid of them now while they have good value still in them. But remember we were talking about that date. Well, let's have a look at this. So I mean, this card has been, on a steady, healthy increase over time, and the reason for that is because of demand in Commander. Like I said, Ristic Study, just amazing card in Commander. If you're playing blue, no reason why you shouldn't be playing it. So over years now, it's had sort of good, steady, healthy, long-term growth. It's never had a reprint. I mean, a couple of little tiny reprints, but come on, Commander's Arsenal and Judge promo, those are not really count as reprints. So over time, it's just had long-term, good, solid, organic growth. And then we get to sort of July, August, same time, around we saw Manamorphose take a nosedive. And remember, this would have been before the announcement of sort of mystery boosters, or at least for sure before we kind of knew what was going to be in them. And this card just starts taking a nosedive. Why? I don't know. I mean, it's not like demand would have changed, right? If anything, demand would be increasing on this card. But it's kind of like somebody was holding a bunch and thought, I'm going to just sort of unload my position in this. And now there's more supply on the market than there is demand for the card. So that's when that happens. You see a price decrease. So again, a little bit of speculation there. Don't really want to go down the insider sort of road. There's enough YouTubers that talk that kind of stuff. I just want to talk graphs and facts, but I just found it interesting. I did want to point out that it was around the same time. If you take a look at some of the other cards that are getting printed in Mystery Booster too, you'll see a similar sort of pattern around, late July, August, September, in that range. The prices just start to dip. And again, that's before we sort of knew what was going to be in these mystery boosters, right? But anyway, so long story short, and what I want you to take away from this today, guys, really look at the list. You can actually find it here on MTG Stocks. If you go to sets and then just go to mystery booster, here's every card that we know of that's printed in mystery booster, and just sort, right? So go common. And we can see all the comments in here and go through this stuff. And like I said, if they're expensive cards, you strongly want to consider sort of unloading them before all this new supply hits the market. Ristic Study, Manamorphose, Thought Vessel, right? Lotus Petal. Like, these are cards that have value and are going to have a lot less value once a bunch of these packs start getting opened. And actually, you know what? I mean, I'll save this for another video, but I'll just say in short that I think Wizards is making a concerted effort to lower the price of Commander going into next year, right? Because next year they've already, like we talked about, it's going to be a huge Commander year. They want to get a bunch of new players sort of into the format, get them playing the formats. Definitely one of the most popular formats and one of the funnest formats. I personally love Commander. So it's a different way to play Magic, and they just want to introduce a bunch of new players to it. And there is definitely a cost barrier to Commander. So by doing massive set reprints of some of the really big stuff, Thought Vessel for sure, Ristic Study, like stuff like this, crop rotation, like doing a massive reprints of these cards will definitely help lower the value. So don't get caught holding this stuff. Like I said, look at this list. Go through your collection, unload anything extra that you have and are not in need of currently. As always, if you're a subscriber, I want to thank you for being here. We really appreciate your support. And if not, now's a great time to consider hitting that subscribe button. We post at least 2 videos every week. All right, up first in the Invest In category this week, I have Karn the Great Creator from War of the Spark. This card's going to see natural, long-term sort of uphill growth. And the reason I say that is he's just really good. I mean, come on. Activated abilities of artifacts your opponent's control can't be activated. Can you think of a good place that this plays out in virtually any deck? How about Commander, right? I mean, yeah, he gets a lot of play in Modern. There's some cool combos you can do with Modern, completely lock out your opponent. Same sort of thing in Legacy. And the only reason he's not a $20 Planeswalker is to get 0 play in Standard. There's nothing that really works really great with him in Standard. That combined with the fact that there was a lot of War of the Spark opened, has led to sort of a depression in this price, and sort of Modern's in a bit of a downturn right now. And that's sort of natural. Well, that's natural. It happens every year. Modern's out of season right now. And then that combined with the fact that obviously we have a new format this year is putting a lot of pressure on cards that see a lot of play in Modern. But I think Karn has a really good long-term potential, and I think you should really start seeing this graph sort of make a shift and start heading uphill. Okay, up next we have Wilderness Reclamation from Ravnica Allegiance. Just a good solid card. I mean, I think it has great both short-term and long-term potential. Short-term in the sense that, I mean, Teamer rec decks are making a good showing, putting up good numbers in Standard right now since the Oko ban. Personally, I don't think it's the strongest deck. I actually think that kind of goes to Fires of Invention. But this is a really good deck, and it is putting up a good showing for sure in Standard currently. And that's probably going to be helped along even more so with the fact that Theros is sort of an enchantment-based set. But just long-term potential, I mean, this card is great in things like Commander, so we're getting far enough away from Ravnica Allegiance that, none of this is going to be opened anymore. So the graph is already starting to trend upward, and I expect that to continue with just sort of natural organic demand. All right, and last but not least, we have our speculation play of the week. That's right, and it's Cindervines from Ravnica Allegiance. This card is already starting to bounce up off of its bottoms. I mean, it had a low of $1.30. It's currently sitting in the $1.50 range. And as you can see, it's getting play in multiple formats. So, that's always one thing we look for in terms of what are good investments. Is it played across multiple formats? This card is just a great answer in Gruul colors for enchantments and artifacts. Typically something, Gruul looks for something cheap to be able to answer sort of an artifact or enchantment threat, because it wants to basically just keep the pressure on with, big face pounding creatures. So 2 mana cost, really good against control. And then obviously we have the option to sacrifice it and destroy an artifact or enchantment. Bearing in mind, of course, that Theros is an enchantment-based deck, so this will handle a lot of what we're going to be seeing from Theros. I think this card is going to get a lot more play in Standard going forward. All right, I really hope you guys enjoyed watching This Week in MTG Finance. If you did, go ahead and smash that like button, and you can find a link in the description of this video for all the cards you see in this video, and using that link greatly helps support this channel. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Bye for now.